Okay. So let's see if this is live. Hopefully this is actually visible. If anyone is in the chat or watching, let me know. Because I've been trying to get this to work for a while, but it's been real dumb. Okay. Well, I got an email that it was live. But I'm not sure. Okay. I will... Hey, Ben! So I've been thinking that I was streaming for the past 15 minutes or so. Just like talking to nobody. Long rambling conversations about my own campaign, and then I look in the top right of my window and it's like there's a go live button. I'm quite sure that I pressed that already, but apparently not. I tried to go live like 3 or 4 times. The first time it set it to private, the other time it set it to be an unlisted thing, and I had like it was showing up for me, but it wasn't showing up anywhere else on the channel. I have no idea what was going on. So hopefully this is working. I see you too, Peter. So thank you for posting something in the chat. It has been very confusing trying to find out if I was live, because it also keeps telling me that there's like a viewer or there's X number of viewers or something like that, but they would never respond to anything, and it didn't show viewers in every part of the YouTube studio thing, and it didn't show any in Streamlabs OBS. So I have no idea what is accurate. Let me know if I'm too loud or if the music, which I think is still playing, is too loud, or anything like that. And if you've got any questions on Foundry or DungeonDraft or anything like that. In the meantime, I'm probably just gonna keep writing out my session recap, and then start building up some of my next options and things like that, and then maybe build a battle map or something. That I gotta think about what I actually want the battle map to be. Oh, I should have set this to be low latency instead of normal latency, because I don't really care about the quality of the video. I'm more interested in making sure that I can get quick responses to and from chat. Awesome. Sounds all good. Oh, and Obsidian character sheet is great. I've messed with it a little bit. It looks so much better than all of the others. I know there's like a conversion process from the normal character sheet, and I've just been nervous about doing something like that because I get worried about if I update Foundry or something and there's not an update for it, or if there's some communication area between the default sheet and it after it's been filled with stuff from VTTA, the D&D Beyond integration or something like that. It gets confusing. And so I'm sticking with the main character sheet for now, especially because most of my players are not fully invested into Foundry, despite my my full efforts. They love rolling physical dice too much, and so all of the functionality of Foundry, other than like moving around a token, doesn't get an awful lot of use. But I'm in another game that does it a little bit better. It's at least working with like Beyond 20 and everything to roll stuff into Foundry, and then what web app are you currently using? Oh, right. I'm sorry. I've tried to start this stream 4 different times now, I think, and I've described what I was using each time except for the time when people can actually see it. So this is Legend Keeper. Legend Keeper is super cool. It's a Patreon thing right now. So if you go to patreon.com/ probably Legend Keeper. I don't actually know. It's been a while since I subbed. Yeah, so they've got a $5 a month and a $10 a month option, and you actually don't have to keep subscribing. If you subscribe once at either tier, you get an invite to Legend Keeper and then you can also invite like 50 people to Legend Keeper as well, and you can cancel your Patreon subscription afterwards. It's supposed to be launching eventually. I don't know when, and the developer Braden is a really nice guy and a really good developer as far as I can tell. And it's another like modern web technology thing. It's built using React, and it uses a JavaScript library, or not just JavaScript library, but I think like a JavaScript library mixed with a Node thing or other. I don't know. I hate JavaScript, which is frustrating because it's what everything is made in nowadays. But it uses something called Prose Mirror, so you get all of these cool abilities that he's kind of like put in customly. So like if you so if you do a slash, you can do text, headings, block quotes, links, images, tables, bulleted list, ordered list. You can create or link additional articles. You can set secret options, so only people who can edit the article are able to see it. Sub-article index, so like my session recaps article up here has a sub-article index in it, and it will do like a table of contents showing like first session, second session, all that stuff. And there's also these things that they have called a generator, which I think is actually kind of going away in a little bit because he's releasing a huge update. I haven't done a video on it because there's a really big update coming. So if I hit edit on this, it's kind of like roll tables, except with text. So you can like put variables inside of these different text, create additional lines with different options. So like this is the main sentence, and then for the customize it variable, you can enter as many options as you want here. And for the new variable, you can enter as many variables as you want here. And so it would probably be good for something like generating combat descriptions, so they're a little less boring, or town descriptions, or just town and people names, like you find the red rooster inn, you find the green rooster inn, all that kind of stuff. World Anvil is cool. That was actually the first one that I started with, but it is, oop, that was not the right thing. Why is it doing that? Oh well, I'll just leave that weird empty space there for now. But I found World Anvil to be too complex. One of the things that I like about Legend Keeper is that it has both a like world map and a like kind of Wikipedia way of looking at things. So you get maps, and my world isn't actually in Faerun, but it was originally because it started with Lost Mines of Phandelver. And you can set these pins that are linked to articles, and then you'll get the entire article list over here. And then you can keep clicking through. This is not a very good example because I don't actually have most of my maps up here. But you can also set it up to have like these big tags up here at the top, where you can list out people by being, so like NPCs, players, big bads, that kind of thing. You can also just link direct articles, all kinds of stuff. So right now I'm kind of just finishing up my session recap from the last session, and we've actually done more than 13 sessions. I just don't recap all of them. Only a few days ago, you also found indications that Barty's tribe, the Circle of Dream Druids, have been put into a magical slumber, stopping them from their normal protection of the forest. They're currently experiencing nightmares and being used to manipulate the minds of various humans, or humanoids, really, because not just humans, humanoids in the region. So the basics here are, there is a mind flare threat mixed with that's largely coming from like an uber illitholich kind of thing. So like magic using mind flare, who is eventually going to become an elder brain himself, but has kind of decided he wants to control other elder brains instead of becoming an elder brain. And so he is attempting to find ways to create more willing subjects that are more intelligent and useful than Grimlocks, and like the normal intellect devourers that mind flayers have access to. And so they've been working on testing how much they can destroy a humanoid mind and modify its memory and that kind of thing to be able to change its history and then eventually convince it to do things for them willingly, as opposed to just beating them down into nothing like they did with the Grimlocks, where they just became these big, blind, dumb monsters that aren't good for much more than moving things around and attacking things. And the players kind of woke up out of Faerun into this situation. Let me find my map for it. But they woke up into like this encounter situation where they were drowning in this pit here, and they had tentacles down their throats, and they got pulled out and had to fight a mind flayer and this like corrupted sliver of an elder brain that they were using to rework their memories. And they met up with this circle of dream druid Barty, who kind of like went into their minds while they were sleeping to help them try to navigate what was real and what wasn't. And they had like skill checks and wisdom saving throws to see if they could remember what their actual lives were and what parts of their memories are real, which none of them did particularly well in. So that was a little unfortunate. So they're still mostly unsure about where they are, what's going on. They still can only remember the names of places in Faerun. They don't remember the places where they're actually from or which elements of it were real. The Mind Flayer and this Elder Brain were kind of sent out by this Illitholich to start doing these kind of experiments. And normally Elder Brains in a region start having really horrible effects, like people become extremely suspicious, they start hearing whispers, they start thinking more dark and evil thoughts and things like that. And so that kind of explains why all these terrible things were happening in this town. And so they're kind of coming to terms with the fact that things aren't necessarily what they seem like here. And even if they are exactly what they seem like, it may not be for the reasons that you suspect, because it's hard to tell when people have been changed or when they've been forced to do something or that kind of thing, especially when the enemy can literally rewrite your memory to convince you to do a number of horrible things. And so one of the things that happened after they defeated this lord is that Callista had been sent to the lord for transference to that map that I just showed you. So she's pretty upset about that, but they're also in a situation where they're going to have to determine if they want to go deal with the director of that academy right now, or if they want to keep near this corrupted forest area, try to keep helping this town and try to save Barty's tribe from whatever evil has befallen them. So if anybody has any ideas for that kind of thing, there's, especially if the monsters are aberrations or anything like that. I've been reading a lot about them in like Volo's Guide and stuff like that, just to try to find existing lore that I can kind of pilfer and put into this campaign. And so the Circle of Dream Druids are being used to kind of expand and exacerbate the whispers from what was the corrupted Elder Brain, though it's now dead, to convince people to do more things, as just another prong of research from that the greater Illitholich who's trying to figure all this stuff out. Anyway, So that's that. If anybody has any questions on Foundry or Dungeon Draft or anything like that, feel free to let me know, and I'd be happy to answer them. I'm probably going to jump into Dungeon Draft in a minute and just look around at what kind of assets are in there and what might be interesting for a nightmare situation to try to wake up all of these different sleeping Circle of Dream Druids. Yeah, so that's enough of a description there. Let's open Dungeon Draft. I never have any idea how big to start these maps. At least now you can resize the map automatically, which is nice. Or not automatically, but you can resize the map after you've started if you need to. So it doesn't really matter what size you start with. And it also has this great loading animation that tells you, oh, there's an update available. Huh. I should probably get that. Hopefully this won't result in a lot of crashes. One frustrating thing between Dungeon Draft and Foundry is that they don't use the same shortcuts or keys for panning around or for zooming. And so half the time I wind up like trying to right click in here, which doesn't do anything. You have to either use space or control and something, or no, it's control and scroll to actually zoom in and out. Oh, it's annoying. I never really like starting with the dirt as the terrain, just because it's kind of just, well, dirty, I guess, looking. I really like the way that the grass looks, though. So I normally start with that, even if it's not going to be a really grassy situation. It just is less painful for my brain to look at. Makes it a little easier to get going. It's so weird that Streamlabs doesn't pull in the chat properly. Oh well. So, what would be good nightmare situations for the players? We have a halfling Way of the Sun Soul monk who has a little sister that she cares for a lot, two badass parents who died of a very not badass thing. They effectively got a flu and passed, which was a kind of unceremonious end for them. We have a kind of street urchin, orphan, bard who had one good friend who was a dwarf named Gundren, who comes from Lost Mines of Phandelver, who I've kind of transplanted out and made a little bit different. We also have a warlock with an archfey patron who had a brother who was always better than her in every way. She comes from a family of wizards, but she's actually a warlock. So her ability to perform magic was never up to her brother's expectations. And oh yeah, we also have an Oath of Redemption half-orc paladin who was originally a conquest paladin under the control effectively of a chain devil who kind of enslaved his people. So I'm thinking taking each one of their backstories in that way and kind of trying to make a specific encounter to each one would probably be worthwhile, but it's also, you know, like a little tropish to be like, oh, you have to face your fears inside of this nightmare memory. But it also makes sense in the story because, of course, the druids are going to try in their controlled state to show you the thing that's most horrifying to you. And that is, of course, going to come from their memory. And they also know what their memories are because they're plugged into the same thing, effectively, that the players were plugged into. So these like corrupted pieces of elder brain have been communicating with each other what everything's worst fears are and what their motivations are. So I guess it also makes sense for them to be able to see into their minds and show them something horrifying. So probably the one with the most immediately enticing structure is probably all Mac with the Chain Devil, and forcing him to confront that could be a positive or interesting thing. So let's go to D&D Beyond. And it doesn't have to be a Chain Devil. If anybody knows a lot about devils or demons or anything, please feel free to post something in the chat, because I don't know everything about D&D. I know a lot about D&D, but not everything. I especially all monster stat blocks I'm not amazing with. I really like the storytelling aspect of D&D, and I like the crunchy number aspect of it, but I also mostly played during 3.5, and so 5th edition I've only got like a year of experience in, because once I finished high school, everybody that I knew and played with, we all kind of moved into different directions. And so I didn't get to either DM or play for a very long time. And now I'm in one campaign, DMing my campaign, and maybe DMing a second one. And my wife actually might start a 4th campaign. So I'm just going to be playing D&D every day eventually. And I think it would kind of be fun eventually to do a game with some people from either like the Foundry Discord or just from the YouTube channel or something. I imagine pretty much everybody on the YouTube channel is from the Foundry community. But doing some kind of campaign that, people, as a very new DM, it blows my mind how deeply ingrained the D&D lore is to the people I've been watching on YouTube. Yeah, it's, I imagine it's, I imagine it's quite a lot. It's kind of like going into any fandom that's very, very well established. And most people have something that they're like really interested in, but not everybody has one where they're like obsessed with it. I was a hardcore Star Wars kid my entire life, read all the books, played all of the games. I'm in the 501st. I do all the costuming and everything like that. Spent exceedingly large amounts of money putting it together, and exceedingly large amounts of time just walking around in costume trying to make kids happy. And when you suddenly start talking to somebody and they're like, oh yeah, well I mean that's obviously the case because in the Mechanist plane or in Mechanicist plane everything is perfect order, so it makes sense that like in perfect order you also need some disorder, so they made slads which are totally aberrant, they're utterly chaotic, and they have no real motivating need, and they're very confusing. And then they start talking about the Feywild, and they start talking about the ethereal plane and the astral sea and like an astral dreadnought and spell jammers and all that stuff. It's a probably very overwhelming amount of information. But it's also very fun because it's a whole lot of stuff that you can like just dive deeply into. And if you're a new DM, reading these descriptions and like one of my favorite books to just kind of like flip through and read is stuff from Volo's, like the Mind Flayer Scourge of the Worlds is basically what inspired me to start doing all this modify memory and like intense mental stuff with their character backstories, because just the like deep descriptions of where they come from, the fights that they've had with the Githzerai, Ceramorphosis. Like if you go and watch the what is it, the Baldur's Gate teaser trailer for the new one, obviously, it is just so badass. And seeing Ceramorphosis happening, and actually I think the new Diablo trailer has something similar to it too. I could be wrong. The Diablo 4 trailer. And yes, Ben, Foundry does rock. And if anybody has any questions about Foundry, please feel free to let me know. I have over here some modules that I was messing with. Obviously, I've got the Beyond 20 module, I've got Dice Tray, Dice So Nice, and Let Me Roll That For You. Um, and so the video that I'm working on currently is about just like all the ways that you can improve dice rolling in Foundry. And it was kind of a personal attempt to try to entice my players to be more willing to use deeper Foundry functionality than just moving characters around on a map. And I think having the ability to just come over here and like hit D20 and roll, and then with Dice So Nice also have a three-dimensional die roll across the screen is going to be very beneficial. And then you've also got the ability with Let Me Roll That For You to open this up to find one of your players, and or Callista is actually listed as a another DM in here as I was doing a test. But if I go to Almac or something and being able to say like, hey, give me a dexterity saving throw, request it, and then on his end, let me pop open Foundry just so we can see what this looks like. Yeah, so let me move this over here, this here, and we'll ask him for a dexterity saving throw, and then pops up on his screen. He can easily click it. It automatically figures everything out. It rolled off screen. But it's cool because it will then also still roll the die for everybody across their screen. They can set it to be as fast or as slow as they want it to be, or they could just disable it entirely if they're running on a potato and 3D dice rolling doesn't work that well for them. Sergio Falaguera asks, can you import module for other platform in VTT and High? So by that, I'm guessing you mean other VTTs like Fantasy Grounds. And if that is what you're asking, you cannot use modules or plugins from Fantasy Grounds. If you do have your content in D&D Beyond, though, there's a plugin called VTT Assets D&D Beyond integration, and it will now actually let you import full adventures into your game, which is really cool. So actually, let me just do a connect to Foundry here. Sometimes there's an issue with it. It might be because I have too many different Foundry tabs open. But basically, you would be able to do that, and then let me get all the way back. Oh, there's a up to the top button, and then you can come to one of your adventures, click into some part of it, and since I don't have Foundry actually connected here, it won't show up, but you'd have an option here to just import it, and it starts pulling everything in. Books like Player Handbook. So the SRD content, so the system reference document, that content is all free, and you can use that. And if you go to the channel, actually, not to plug my own channel and my own stream, which seems a little narcissistic, but if you check out my channel for the D&D Beyond integration, it will show you that you can import Player's Handbook content, Dungeon Master, basically all D&D Beyond content in. Or you can always enter your own content if you want to, but there's no deals that Foundry has with Wizards of the Coast to pay $20 or $30 or whatever and get the content into Foundry. So importing it from something like D&D Beyond is currently the best way to go about doing that. And Drew, you're 100% right. VTT Assets is amazing. And the dev, Sebastian, is a super nice guy. And I know he's working crazy hard to keep getting all these maps imported, because on top of just importing these maps, he's also going through and setting grid alignment now, lighting, and placing walls. He mentioned something in the chat earlier. Let me see if I can remember where it was. Oh, I think it was scene adjustments. Yeah, he said one Mad Mage map takes 60 plus minutes to map. At least level 3 with all the crooked walls. That's brutal. He's spending a lot of time getting all of these, getting all these maps set up. So be sure to show him some love at VTT Assets on Patreon. And at the Healthy Snacks tier, that's where you can start importing stuff from D&D Beyond. Though you can import your characters and everything like that for free. So if that's the only functionality you need, then you should be good. But I just to go back to it, I really like this module. Having that down there is so much easier than being like, okay, now press /roll 1d20 to roll your d20 and add your modifier and everything. Being able to do that and then get a 3, ooh, nat 20. Big one. That's weird that it doesn't highlight it here. I wonder, because normally, or actually that might be a beyond 20 thing, which I actually think I have disabled right now. That highlights it green. But no, it's highlighted green there. Might have to look at that later. Anyway, this dude is super scary looking, and I love that. So let's see what abilities he has and see what we could maybe grab story-wise. What about 3D maps? If you mean like actual three-dimensional maps, not, what's the word? Isometric maps or anything like that, then I don't think it will be able to help you. One thing that you can check out, it's not going to be available for a while, but TaleSpire. And actually, if anybody wants to see this, I own a copy of it. I can pop it open and we can take a look. But TaleSpire looks super cool. Let me actually pause this. And we'll play their video for a second. I'm going to turn the volume down though, because I'm not sure what it's going to sound like. But it's basically like Dwarven Forge, but a video game. It looks crazy. I love it. And so they already have all these model assets and everything like that animated. Oh, yes, you can use animated maps. Like if you're talking about like dynamic dungeons, there is support for that. And sorry about the delay between chat and response. I'm going to set the next stream to be low latency. The video will be a little bit worse, but I'll be able to see comments faster. And y'all will get the response faster. But it looks super cool. There's all this crazy stuff that you can build. And they did well enough in their Kickstarter that they're going to support like a generic rule system. So kind of like Foundry, where you can import your own rule system. They're going to have modding support. Here, I can actually show you some of the cool stuff that the community's already built. Which one of these is it? Apologies if this has been answered already, but what do you use to capture your desktop for your video? Oh, no worries. Right now I'm using Streamlabs OBS, which is kind of a fork of the OBS Studios system that has a nicer user interface, and I use it when I first got started. I'm working on switching over to OBS Studios because there's some additional functionality in it that I like, and Streamlabs is starting to push more and more like their theme store, and they're restricting some of their functionality behind paywalls and stuff, and I don't really like that. So I'm looking at switching over to OBS Studios, but I haven't finished the conversion yet. But let's jump into the show and tell. And these are all things that players have actually built in the game already. So this is actually a very good example. This guy, Brother Hanan, he's built a lot of cool stuff. And so these are all built using the already included assets. rough top-down view of it. So you can see what I'm saying. It looks just like Dwarven Forge. I could not remember. I kept wanting to call it Dungeon Forge. Like Dwarven Forge stuff. So it also runs pretty well, even on low-powered machines. Like if you're running pretty much anything modern, you should probably be able to handle being a player. And people are making all of these like what they call slabs, which are like pre-designed buildings so that you can pop them in and repeat them. It's super cool. Is there a way to teleport a token to a different portion of the scene when the player moves their token over it? I.e. someone moved to top of stairs and it ports them to the next level? Yes, there is. There's a module called Trigger Happy, which is from the developer Kakaroto. And it should be free in the module installer, I think. I actually haven't, I've messed around with it a little bit. I don't know enough to tell you how to do it. But it should work. Let's see how complicated it is. It's probably too complicated to go over right now, but oh, it's because I didn't actually. Instead of that, let me just open Steam and do TaleSpire. Here, and I'll see if I can turn that down to start with. Put this in windowed mode, and I'll bring it over here. Maybe I won't. It does not seem thrilled to be in a window. Don't know why. I wish I could at least select which window I wanted it to appear on. Here, let me try doing this. Yeah, that'll make it a little smaller. Yeah, there we go. So we'll jump into TaleSpire for a quick second. People will be very confused when they come here and they're expecting to see two-dimensional Foundry and they get three-dimensional TaleSpire instead. Okay, yeah, so it just logged me in, and this is kind of like just a test area where I've been placing things. These are a bunch of the minis that are already available, and you can like spin and look around at everything. There's little emotes that you can make them do, like wiggle or be sad. That seems less sad than just like generally upset. You can track HP. There's GM tools. You can give them torches, all kinds of cool stuff. Just little places I've built out. They have bigger and smaller tokens. Like you can see a dragon over there, a big frost giant here. Things look pretty good. It's being a little clunky on my machine right now, but I think that's probably because I'm streaming and doing a bunch of other stuff in the background too. And I've just started pulling out assets. God, it's been a little while since I jumped in here. Yeah, so go into build mode, and you can see that there's castle assets. There's a whole bunch to pull from. This new one just came out called Morgoth as well. And so you can switch between all the different types of assets and start placing them down. Like if you wanted to have a huge hallway of these torches, you can do that. Anyway, don't want to get too distracted in here. Exit to desktop. Yeah, off we go. Have they added races yet to 5e in Foundry? If you mean in the game system, I don't know that racial traits are in there. Since I actually don't, or since my players don't really use Foundry for that, I have not really looked into it too much, but I don't think there is. Let me go to this. Oh wait, where? Oh, am I already logged in? Yeah, I'm over here. I think all of these have. So that did pull in that she's a Lightfoot halfling, and this is using the VTT assets character importer. Let's see if it has any of her racial abilities in here. Yeah, so it looks like it's not something built into 5e, but it did pull lucky at least, though that's also a feat. So it might have just been able to do it that way. And since it's pulling in from D&D Beyond, I don't think it's like actually doing any math to figure these out. I think it's just pulling in the numbers. But yeah, it looks like Ben's confirming that's not something built in. That makes sense. Anyway, I have to prep this game. So Chain Devil. They have magical darkness, doesn't impede the devil's dark vision. The devil has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. He makes 2 attacks with its chains. Animate chains recharges after a short or long rest. Up to 4 chains the devil can see within 60 feet of it magically sprout razor-edged barbs and animate under the devil's control, provided that the chains aren't being worn or carried. Each animated chain is an object with AC 20 hit points, resistance to piercing damage, and immunity to psychic and thunder damage. When the devil uses multi-attack on its turn, it can use each animated chain to make 1 additional chain attack. Huh. An animated chain can grapple 1 creature of its own, but it can't make attacks while grappling. An animated chain reverts to its inanimate state if reduced to 0 hit points if the devil is incapacitated or dies. Oh, he said halfling nimbleness is there. Thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate that. And honestly, every time somebody leaves a comment saying that they appreciated the videos or they thought they were useful, or especially when people say like how it helped their game or anything like that, it makes me so happy. I always loved playing D&D, and there was a lot of times where I couldn't play it. And so knowing that these videos were able to help anybody be able to play it is huge, and I get really excited. So a bit more is added to Foundry. Foundry's... I can understand that Detrav Boo, I believe is the proper pronunciation. I can get that, especially if you already have adventure modules or anything like that imported, or that you own in Fantasy Grounds. It's rough to have to buy books a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th time, depending on how many systems you've tried. Though that's actually one of the reasons why I like Foundry, because I'm able to keep everything in D&D Beyond and pull it into Foundry if I want to. But if you're already in a system, then that doesn't really do you an awful lot of good. And I can understand that, especially if you're already familiar with it. It's complicated. It's a big system. There's a lot to figure out. And especially before it was officially out, before the Forge was available for hosting, or Foundry server, or like the Docker guides that are available now, it can be a pain to host. Oh yeah, what's coming in here? And yeah, halfling. Okay, so yeah, halfling nimbleness is in here. I think that is not something that's in the compendium, though. I think that's just from pulling it into D&D Beyond. But that is a good catch. I might have to check that later. The class features are there, but any stat bonuses need to. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Vin. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, so reading this, there's an awful lot about chains. And chains turning into barbs, chains being able to grapple people. That is immediately something that I can see an encounter being built around. And unnerving mask. When a creature the devil can see starts its turn within 30 feet of the devil can create the illusion that it looks like one of the creature's departed loved ones or bitter enemies. If the creature can see the devil, it must succeed on a DC 14 wisdom saving throw or be frightened until the end of its turn. Jesus. Working on prepping a toolless game once the 5e edition comes out. My liking of Roll20 has been waning, and your videos have sold me on Foundry. Been having a lot of fun tinkering with it. Thanks, man. No problem, Crimson Photog. Your name sounds very familiar. I don't know why. I'm curious what a toolless game is. Is that a specific world or something? Toolless. Oh, it's a pre-made city. Monty Cook's City by the Spire. That looks pretty cool. There's so much content on Kickstarter now. It's absolutely crazy. I love it. I remember being a young warthog just drawing on graph paper. And now these things are pulling in $750,000. Wow. I gotta create a campaign guide and develop a huge audience. Man, that's super cool. I wish that I could get a better view of some of these maps, though. I wind up buying things just for map access a lot of the time because maps can be difficult. I struggle a lot with world maps. I have WonderDraft. I have Incarnate. I have everything that you can make a map with. And I still suck at it. Winks. Found your tutorial videos very helpful in getting familiar with Foundry. Thanks. Wanted something more flexible than other VTTs I tried since we don't play D&D all the time. Yeah, especially if you don't play D&D all the time and you play one of the like majorly supported one of the majorly supported systems like Pathfinder, especially 2nd edition. I think Starfinder has a decent setup. I'm not positive. Vindang, are you willing to share your Foundry Discord name? I promise. Yeah, totally. It's MattXD, MattexDee, in Discord. I may not respond instantly. And it's not because of anything with videos or that. I just work a lot. I'm a freelancer, and so I take pretty much as much work as I can get. And oftentimes I want to try to give a good response to a question, and so I might leave it even unread for a while because I can like see a little bit of it on my phone in a notification or something. And I want to give a good answer, so it might take me a little while, but I oftentimes write answers that are far too long and much longer than anyone wanted. But yeah, that's me. I don't really post, like I don't post my videos and media and assets or anything because I, especially early on, was very worried about coming off as a shill or not like a shill for a product or anything because obviously the videos are about Foundry or they're about DungeonDraft, but I really didn't want to be seen as somebody who was trying to get famous or anything like that. Or I'm guessing this is you that just sent me a friend request. Denied. I'm just kidding. I'll accept that. Or I won't show it here because I don't want to dox you or anything. If you don't want that visible. Hey man, just wanted to thank you for all the content you've uploaded. Currently running a Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign to my group, and it's going great so far. That's so awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, and that's a badass name, Shadow of the Demon Lord. Do you know what I named my table in Foundry? I named it the Unexpected Adventurers. And there's names like Shadow of the Demon Lord out there. I'm a bad writer, but that's okay. And no problem, Ven. The Discord community is incredibly helpful. I would not have been able to figure out what I was able to figure out about Foundry and eventually make the videos if people weren't willing to sit in Discord and answer questions from me for hours at a time. Cuddly Zombie, you didn't really miss a whole lot. I gave a brief summary of how my home campaign got to the point where it is. We took a look at TaleSpire a little bit, a couple other environments like Tolus from Monty Cook, and I think Crimson said something else about it. Monty Cook wrote D&D 3E, and this was his... Wow, that's amazing. I got my start in not 3rd edition, but 3.5, and played a lot of 3.5. So that's super cool. I'll have to take a look at it. And then... Oh yeah, and so now I'm just working on kind of the next bit of prep, which is kind of be an individual nightmare for each one of my my main players using some stuff from their backstories. The Slashscape video was very interesting. The DungeonDraft custom assets video. Thank you. It's incredibly long, and I feel bad about that. I tried to make it as short as I could, but there was a lot to go over in that one. I've gotten a few complaints about the length in the comments, but oh well. There's some other videos on YouTube about it. I wanted to give a very in-depth view over everything. Shadow of the Demon Lord is a great system. Oh, it's a system, not just a world. There's so many systems, I get very easily lost. And thank you, Bernie, for watching the videos. I appreciate that a lot. All I want to do is help people play D&D more. And under Bird Box plot. I thought Bird Box was or is that not the one with the masks? Or where people like covered their eyes the whole time? I can't remember. Because I didn't think they saw... I guess they kind of saw their worst fear and then went deranged. Okay, yeah, so I see what you're saying. That makes sense. The gory side. Yeah, a very gory game could be appealing. But I could also see that becoming a little much, especially if you play like 4 to 12 hour long games and it's just the elevator scene from The Shining the entire time. So here's kind of my thoughts for this encounter. Normally what I do is I open up a notepad and I just start writing different things. And so my initial thought, since it has... it helped me follow the instruction bit by bit to do the same thing. I'm guessing by that, Vin, that you mean Roll20. And to that I say good riddance. I couldn't stand Roll20. I never even got through fully understanding how to use it because I hated the way that it looked and the way that I had to interact with it so much. I don't oftentimes have that strong of a response to software UX failure, but that just drove me crazy. Your video series call me reference in Discord for beginners. Vin, you're gonna make me blush, man. That's so nice of you. And yeah, I've definitely seen people in Discord reference it, and I appreciate that they post it because I try not to, because I don't, like I said, I don't want to try to shill too hard for myself or anything like that. I figure if they're useful, then people will find them, and I don't want to be too much on the marketing side of that. But I'm sorry. Oh yeah, for this, my initial thought is, since there's all these chains, up to 4 chains the devil can see, and I've got 5 player characters. I have 4 actual players and then 1 NPC that's kind of going around with them, but does have player character stats. His name's Barty. He's a Circle of Dream druid. And he's a furbolg, and he has this, like, he has a literal lion's mane of black hair that goes around his head that he shaves behind and in front, and it connects to his sideburns and his beard, and just goes all the way around, and then he shaves the front of it. He's a badass. He's got a thick southern drawl, and he's just here to help everybody have a good time, all right? And so I like having him around a lot. But we are approaching kind of the near end of his campaign, or not his campaign, but his kind of story arc. So my thought is, as they enter one of the Circle of Dream Druid nightmares, and actually I'm going to move this down so we can keep an eye on that super spooky dude and kind of use that as inspiration. We can grapple the characters that aren't Almac, and Almac is the one who has like this kind of bad history with a chain devil who had conquered his people, and Almac just rolled some insane dice for his hit dice to get to level 6. So this character, or this chain devil, still has more HP than him. What's its challenge rating? Does D&D Beyond have that on this page? No. So I'm going to open it up in the encounter builder and see if a level 6 character could reasonably fight a chain devil. So we're going to add chain devil. And if anybody has any questions about D&D Beyond and the encounter builder, I use it a lot. So you can feel free to ask questions about that as well. Yeah, I'm going to set that to 5, drop this down to 1, change it to a level 6. And let's see if I go up a little bit, Oof, 1-on-1, even at level 10? That's deadly? That can't possibly be right. Huh. It has 8. Oh, did it say on this page and I just didn't see it? I still don't see it. Oh well, I'm just a dumb person. So man, that's crazy. That's a really high. So my initial thought was to kind of like get them grappled and force him to 1v1 this chain devil, while they have to try to break the 20 AC on their chain to be able to help Almac in the fight. I might change the AC on that because 20's high. Or maybe I'll just reduce the HP. But just to make it so that he has to kind of 1v1 this dude at first. He gets a +8 though, and then 2d6 +4. I'm going to check Almac's health and see how much he has. I just adjust the chain devil. He could be weakened by something. Yeah, I think that's fair, especially because it's not a real chain devil. The challenge level, bottom of the stat block group in red before the abilities. Before the abilities. Oh my God. How did I miss that? Wow. Thank you, Crimson. I was blind. Cuddly, I do not think you are the only one who's had a confusing reaction to not just 5e's challenge rating system, but just the challenge rating system in general. I think there's a lot of behind the scenes manipulation at Wizards, because there's several things that don't add up Uh, and it's also crazy because like you'll have something like a banshee that like you have to fight in level 2 or 3 of Lost Mines of Phandelver, but the thing has an ability where if the party happens to fail, I think it's a wisdom saving throw, they're just unconscious immediately. There's no just damage or anything like that. You're just 0 HP. And that's a reasonable enemy for that level. I don't understand it. So I wind up changing a lot of low level monsters. Um, I like taking much more powerful monsters and basically what Trav said earlier and just like weaken them a little bit because the upper level monsters are so much more intimidating and there's so many upper level monsters that even once they get to the upper levels you can keep showing them new monsters and never really run out of stuff. Once they had MM3, which was kind of nice. Yeah, and see, I never played 4th edition. I just kept playing 3.5. Did you say in one video that VTT assets can import walls? I said that it might be able to, and there's actually good information or good news on that. It can. It can't import walls for everything. It's a manual process. The developer, Sebastian, is going through and like actually manually mapping all of them and manually applying the correct grid alignments to them, and then releasing them as available. If you go to the VTT assets Discord and you go to their bot spam channel, you can type !scenes. And then a specific adventure like LMOP for Lost Mines of Phandelver, or COS for Curse of Strahd, and it'll tell you in stars. If it's an empty star, it means like there's a basic grid alignment. If it's a half star, or no, I think if it's an empty star, it just has the basic information and it will pull in scenes, but it won't have an aligned grid or anything. Half star full is aligned grid, and then full star is walls and lights applied as well. Some of them, like for certain parts of Waterdeep, for that adventure, because the maps are so horribly aligned, there's a lot of like janking to make it work. But he did his best. Tomb of Annihilation for 2 years, man. Yeah, the D&D Beyond encounter creator is actually pretty cool. So the basics of how it works are you can create an encounter, you can give it a name, like this will be Chain Devil Nightmare or something like that. You can do manage characters, and you can have it pull in your existing campaigns. So I'll have it pull in this campaign. What the stats are for? Oh, the stars. Yeah, so that's what the stars are for. And this is my character, actually, in this other campaign that I'm in, Arturo Maximilian. He's basically Inigo Montoya as a Oath of Ancients Tabaxi Paladin. And he's great. And so it will pull in all of your characters, their levels and everything, and it will tell you what difficulty the fight would be. Like for level 2, it might be reasonable to throw gnolls or some. Oh wait, I put that in the name. Chain Devil Nightmare. And then we can search down here for gnolls, and it will show you everything that you own on D&D Beyond, and you can filter by challenge rating, by size, by environment, which is really cool. So you can add that and see how many it takes to make a deadly encounter. So 4 gnolls. And you can have a handful of those in a day, normally, I think. Reading the notes was amusing. Reading the complaints, yeah. Lost Mines is a good, very good starter map kamikaze, or not map, starter adventure. And if you want, that's actually what I started my campaign with. But I wanted to get out of Faerun and into my own homebrew campaign. And so what I did was basically start sewing little things throughout the adventure that like one of the players would see, or that they would all see, but then it would change. So that the players had kind of a little bit of dramatic irony going through, where they know something that their players don't know, that like something is happening in this world that they don't understand. even if their characters wouldn't wind up remembering because their wisdom saving throws would fail. And eventually, near the end, they found a book that had like this modified version of a plane shift spell that their warlock eventually wound up casting, and they woke up in this this horrible place in this like vat of green liquid with tentacles down their throats, drowning, and they came out to find a mind flayer and like a corrupted segment of an elder brain that was messing with their minds, and they defeated it and are now trying to find out what the hell happened to them, where they are. They don't know the country that they're in. None of their history makes any sense because they've been having their memories modified effectively. And so they're trying to figure out what's going on. And that's how I was able to shift it out of Faerun and into my own homebrew world in what is a kind of reasonable way. I took their backstories, and their backstories all still exist, but they're now in different locations than they originally thought they were. And some elements might have shifted, but by and large, keep your players' backstories intact, because you don't want to destroy something that they've worked to like build up a history and try to be for a little while. Let's change this back to this campaign. Get back to the Chain Devil. We'll get rid of all these gnolls. Pop in the Chain Devil. So that would still be a hard fight. Let me see here. Oh, Ghost of Saltmarsh is cool too. I've been looking at getting that, if only just for the boat mechanics. Yeah, doing Dragon of Ice Pirate Peak would be cool too. Um, I don't know how they handling two different dragons, but I would just be worried about having like overexposure to dragons, especially so early on. But then I guess you could always hit them with a full adult or an ancient dragon later on. Wish I had messed with. Oh yeah, running something because it's free. I've been there. Nothing wrong with that. Um, so it would be hard for 4 of them, and there actually is an additional level 6 character with them. Oh, they're gonna have to level up tomorrow before the game. That's gonna take a while. I basically don't have to prep anything actually. That's yeah, VTT definitely can save you a lot of time. Sorry if you had to do a whole bunch of work. Next time, at least. About to do the giant octopus attack. I like the sound of that. I've had a fun idea for a couple of pirate characters for a while, so I'm happy that one of my players has a history with a port city. So it'll hopefully come up eventually. Dungeon Fog. I've looked at Dungeon Fog before. I don't remember what it was that I did not. Oh, most of it's the aesthetic. A lot of map making tools go for this kind of like more realistic look. And I just don't like it at all. It's kind of like the uncanny valley for me. It tries to get too close to being realistic that it looks even faker than if you were to use something like DungeonDraft, where it looks very like cartoony and silly. And I kind of like the cartoony and silly, and you can actually make it look much more dramatic by kind of carefully selecting objects, and especially now that custom assets are in, it's a lot easier to get a more interesting look for your game. I plan on eventually getting a bunch of assets that don't have these thick lines around them. Like, let me make this really big. Like, if this just had thinner stroke on it, I feel like it would look better. And especially something like this, where those lines are just so thick, it makes it look very, very cartoony. About to do the that said, I don't have an issue with Dungeon Fog personally. Like I actually haven't used it, just mostly because I don't like the way that it looks. The map tools that I've used are WonderDraft, Incarnate, which I actually did not like until their recent 1.0 release. And they're actually working on a battle map encounter builder as well, which looks pretty cool. Let me try to remember Incarnate. I think is there. Nope. Because I think they posted about it on Twitter only. Incarnate. Yeah, so this is Incarnate's builder, which I like the style of decently enough. But what I'm not sure about is like how these walls are going to work, how lights are going to work, if they're real walls, if it'll have a similar Dungeon Draft importer that Foundry does. I think somebody mentioned that in the chat a second ago. Yeah, Trav did. And that module is great. And I actually talked to the developer about it a little bit ago. There's going to be a video on it for too long, though it's a very simple module. It just imports and works, basically. Yeah, I think that there is something for importing Dungeon Fog too, because I think they import as an SVG or something, which is fairly easy for them to identify. And it's cool that they have like this map sharing system. And it's cool that they have a viewer too. I think that Megasploot, who makes Dungeon Draft, would really benefit from doing something like that. Because I might not have ever found Foundry if there was just a little bit more functionality in Dungeon Draft, because I was originally planning on just running the game at a table with a TV. Oh my God, it's Moo Man! I was just talking about you. That might be why you're speaking up. But I was just saying that I talked to you a little bit ago, and you fixed the one minor annoyance that I had with Dungeon Draft. Or not Dungeon Draft, with Dungeon Draft Importer. Everybody give some love to Moo Man because he is the bomb. Adding custom assets to Dungeon Draft is a process. Yes, it absolutely does need to be streamlined. It's a little rough. Dungeon Draft might be better just because it has it's a one-time fee, whereas Incarnate is going to charge you more than Dungeon Draft costs per year. But yeah, Incarnate, especially for region and world maps, is really good. Moo Man, you should be very intensely listening. What I'm saying has value. I'm very, very important, don't you know? I hope that comes off as humorous and not asshole-ish. So if this Chain Devil is deadly for all five, or for extremely deadly for one player by itself, this might be one of those loose HP fights where it's within a range, and like if they get to that range but everyone is dead, basically they're the Chain Devil goes down. But I'd like it to be a more balanced fight. I'm trying to get better about how to balance out encounters and not have to do things by being like, yeah, this seems like a reasonable HP for him to die at or something like that. But it's so hard, especially because before recently my players didn't have access to a healer. It was just a warlock, a monk, and a bard, so they had healing word and that's it. Yeah, being online only is also not very great, Moo Man, I agree. Does Dungeon Draft offer asset updates? Yeah, I think like whenever he releases an update, there's normally additional assets. It's not a huge amount, but I think he's planning on having like 2,000 within a year. And those do come free with the update, which is great. With WonderDraft, he sold a couple asset packs, but not too much. What was I saying? Yeah, so there's been some free assets that have come out in Dungeon Draft already, and with custom asset support, you get access to everything that Forgotten Adventures has done, and Strixon. I'm not sure if it's Strixon or Strixon, whatever it is, makes some awesome stuff, and you can pull in 2 Minute Tabletop, and you can draw your own stuff, and all that kind of thing. That's why I'm with Foundry in the first place. Yep, same. I was toying about picking up Foundry, so my world building and actual gameplay VTT were the same thing. Have you messed around with journal stuff much? Does it compare? So pomegranate of pain. That's a funny name. I'll have to make that an item or something that my players find. It is kind of like lo-fi Legend Keeper, if you're familiar with Legend Keeper, in that you can link different journal entries to other Quiz Incarnate Search. Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of like lo-fi Legend Keeper. Oh, and I turned my music off. I'll have light medieval tunes in the background now. So journal entries are interesting, and I originally intended on making a video about them a while ago, and I don't know whatever happened to it, happened to the idea, but they are useful, and I go over this in one of the videos on, in the one that shows like a walkthrough of the Red Brand hideout in Lost Mines of Phandelver, and how I would sometimes set up set up an encounter for tracking and everything. I do it a little bit differently now, but the ability to drag out journal entries here means that you can have a world map where you can have your lore split out into different places, which is basically the same thing that you can do with Legend Keeper, where you can place a pin, link it to an article, and all that kind of stuff. The ability to do a new journal entry. Let's do edit. I think this works. But to drag actors in and to be able to insert text for their name and everything like that. So when you hit save, it shows up as a nice link, and actually be able to link that. You can link scenes together. You can do an awful lot. It doesn't look great. It's using TinyMCE as the editor, which is not amazing, but it's more than you really need. So you can do headings, and I do like in this that you can do where is it? Headings. Oh, of course. Where if you put a title here, that it does give you like a nice line break and or a horizontal rule underneath it and stuff like that. So depending on how intense you want to get with your world building, you can get pretty far with just Foundry. Oh, and I think somebody asked what program this is for writing the story. This is Legend Keeper, which you can subscribe to on Patreon, and it will give you access until it releases effectively, and it also gives you like 50 invites that you can send to other people, and you can restrict visibility based on different players, all kinds of different things. And it has a huge update coming soon, TM, which will maybe be out this week, maybe in a few weeks, I don't know. I've been planning on making a video on it, but I keep waiting for this update to come out, and it hasn't. So I'll get around to it eventually. Right now, I mostly just have my session recaps in it, but you can do a similar thing here where it's a much nicer editor, though. It uses Prose Mirror, but you can do a slash for a command, select different types of text: image, table, bulleted list, ordered list, a secret section, a table of contents, subarticle index. So like if I put a subarticle index in the session recaps article here, it would give you a link to each one of the sub articles there, which is cool. They also have generators, which are kind of like roll tables in Foundry. Press the edit button. Where is the edit button? Oh, there. So here you can set variables like new, and then you can define options for the variable. So when you hit generate, it will select one of these randomly, and you can do the same thing for customize, and you can add as many of those as you want. So that can be useful for some things. It's not going to be available once the new update launches, though, because it's getting reworked a little bit, but hopefully it'll be back before too long. The only downside I have with Foundry is no quick integrated map making. Yeah, you can... Yeah, there's not really a good solution for that. You could maybe really quickly make one in DungeonDraft and then import it with walls and everything using the DungeonDraft importer. Notion. I heard about Notion recently, but I haven't actually looked at it yet. Is it worth looking at? Thank you for your informative videos. Making the leap to Foundry VTT in your channel has helped a lot. Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate that. I hope that it has. I hope you're able to get your game going and that it works. I know one thing that I need to still make is a player's guide. I've been thinking about that for a while because DMs now know almost all of the basics for Foundry from the videos, but players don't have a quick place that they can go and be like, how do I move? How do I chain movement? How do I move where I've placed my template? How do I make an attack? How do I roll? How do I do this and this? And so I foresee a 3-hour long video coming. No, I'm just kidding. So I foresee a video coming out about that before too long too, but there's always so many videos to make and there's so little time. And now I'm not even making progress on planning my game for tomorrow night. So I think that there's a chain path in DungeonDraft now. Feels like if you want these cool D&D tools, everything is Patreon nowadays, and you're paying like $100+ a year for all of it for a VTT. I know you don't need all of it, but it just seems so cool. I can understand that. It is kind of brutal. That is one nice thing with Foundry is that it's one-time buy, and then you own it. And I like that an awful lot. And as a software developer myself, I know that that can be a hard decision to make. And that's one of the reasons why like I don't put my videos behind a Patreon tier or anything like that. And I don't want to delay their release or anything like that. I figured if you have to pay for everything else, you might as well be able to learn how to use it for free. Since Foundry is doing that in such a cool way, and DungeonDraft does the same thing actually, I figure the least I can do is try to make them more easy to use. Notion is pretty good, but it focuses on databases. Okay. Use it for personal life stuff. It definitely uses a similar backend to what Legend Keeper seems to be using. Okay, that's cool. Man, everything is databases now. But I can also understand from the Patreon creators' point of view, especially if they're running servers or things like that that have recurring costs. There's only so much that you can do. Like if your costs keep going on, then to use the software, you've got to keep the prices, or you've got to keep revenue coming in. It's a really rough spot to be in. At least most people have a low Patreon tier requirement for getting content. And there's amazing people like Mooman in the chat, and people like Strikeson who make free tokens, all the module developers that do what they do for free, which is just amazing. And like Jen Kitty in the Discord, just providing help to everybody all the time. It's just crazy what how helpful people will be. But it does suck that a lot of things are restricted behind Patreon. Made a whole 6-level custom dungeon for my players they are working through right now. Use Google Slides as my VTT. Google Slides is a VTT. That is MacGyvery. I applaud your innovation. So I'm actually going to work on this map a little bit. Let's see. We're going to change the terrain. Change the terrain. It'll never be the same. Compact labels won't exist. We buy DVDs and compact discs. That's an old MC Lars song. So Olmec, who this fight is going to kind of be centered around, comes from a largely deserty area. So we're actually going to replace all this grass with this kind of sandstone view. And let's see if we have a chain path tool. We do. Okay, so it looked like they had access to up to 4 chains the devil can see within 60 feet of it, magically sprout razor-edged barbs and animate under the devil's control, provided that the chains aren't being worn or carried. Each animated chain is an object with AC 20, 20 hit points, resistance to piercing damage, and immunity to psychic and thunder damage. Wow. That's going to suck. One of my players, I'm sure, will try to use Thunderstep on it. It's one of his favorite moves. When the devil uses multi-attack on its turn, it can use each animated chain to make 1 additional chain attack. So that could be 6 attacks, because the chain attack is already 2. 6 attacks per round. That's a lot. Can grapple 1 creature of its own, but can't make attacks while grappling. An animated chain reverts to its inanimate state if reduced to 0 hit points or if the devil is incapacitated or dies. Oh yeah, no hate for Patreon supported, but some of these modules at $5 per month adds up. That's $120 per year for 2 modules if you need. Oh yeah, and I hope you didn't think that I was like calling you out as a dick or anything, Ben, because you're definitely not. I can empathize 100% with that, especially right now when there's so much struggle with people having work due to quarantine, or not feeling safe going to work. I'm very lucky in that I can work from home, and so it hasn't hugely negatively impacted me, other than the way that the world has changed negatively. But I have overall had a good run of it compared to others, which I'm very thankful for. Just rough to think of paying it. Yeah, and I think on Patreon I'm subscribed to Braden for Legend Keeper, though granted Legend Keeper you only have to sub for 1 month and then you get access to it going forward. And it's going to have a free tier as well. And the charge will only be for using a lot of storage. So you might be able to get away with a free tier for Legend Keeper afterwards. If you have links allowed, I can link you a template I was working on for a video game clan organizing website using Notion. It's cool using tools for things other than the obvious. I agree with that 100%. I think, I don't know if I have links enabled. You can try. I'll ban you if I don't have links. I guess I don't know what happens to you if you submit it and I don't allow links, so you don't have to if you don't want to. But you can also send it to me on Discord if you want. So up to 4 chains. What is a situation in the desert where chains would be around? I guess it could just be something that the chain devil has. This could be like... This should be like the chain devil's throne room or something, I think. I think that would be cool. I'm not sure why, but this is a list now. I guess that's probably better. It used to be like a word cloud. Things I like. Patreon. Sorry, I feel like I derailed the chat. Bid, don't worry about it all, man. No problem. I think about that a lot. I think a lot about Patreon, and and just like subscriber everything, because I'm a software developer. I make web software. But and there's no real way to do it without subscriptions, just because server costs are ongoing. But like, does everything have to be a web application? It really doesn't. A lot of these things wouldn't necessarily need a web application, but it's so much easier with a web application. So let's see what we've got here. Chair. Is this going to include throne room type chairs? This is kind of ooh, yeah. Throne. That's what I like. So each one of these squares is 5 feet. I always try to use that as like a good way to track if I'm making something a reasonable size, but I also want this to be really big. Like maybe way too big for him. Not sure if the link worked or showed up. Looks like plain text for me. I do not see it, so my guess is that it probably got filtered. Let me see if there's like a mod mode that I can go into to see what's going on. Also, thanks everybody for watching. That's really I appreciate it a lot. I wasn't sure if anybody would watch this. I started on Twitch, and you can check it out, twitch.tv/encounterlibrary. Live stream settings, live chat. Enable slow mode, allow live chat to replay, enable live chat. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see anything about enabling or disabling links. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, to be perfectly honest. That might be something that I have to set before I go live. In which case, I'm out of luck. Yeah, I'm guessing it filtered it out, but it still shows it for me, kind of like Ghost. Yeah, it's like if you get shadow banned on Reddit or something. Okay, so we're going to place nice big throne room right here. Post Twitch, please. Okay, yeah. Twitch.tv/encounterlibrary. Let's see if I can post a link. I feel like if they don't let me post a link, then that's not cool. Guess it strips link was suggesting you add a shadow dancer for fun. Oh, that's actually not the right link. I forgot the R because I'm a dummy. /encounter library. There we go. Oh, and it highlighted it, I guess because that's my channel name or something. I don't know. But that's it on Twitch. I started over there, but obviously no one knows about it yet. And so I was like, I should move over to YouTube because that's where people actually know who I am. How is the video quality? Is it terrible? Anything? I don't watch a lot of YouTube live streams. I pretty much just watch Linus Tech Tips when they stream, and they stream on Twitch and on their proprietary streaming platform or hosting platform, Floatplane. Be sure to sign up and go to lttstore.com. If anybody here really likes LTT, then that will be funny, hopefully. Okay. So let's get back to objects. How do I get back to all objects? Oh, over here. It's been a while since I've made a custom map. So a lot of the time I just kind of scroll through custom assets until or not custom assets, all of my assets, just until I see something that kind of strikes my fancy as something interesting. I'm thinking I want Fire to be here since he's a very hellish person. And Olmec comes from a culture of people that are very dedicated to horses. They're not quite like Dothraki, but not entirely dissimilar either. F's in the chat for the last few seasons of Game of Thrones. Yeah, this is one thing that I've seen that is weird. This cow looks like it should be colorable because that's what the red normally means, but for some reason it's just red. It has to just be the wrong color or something. Quality's great, looks great, video's just fine, looks nice. Oh, all right. Very cool, very cool, very cool. Chain Devil probably have some big ass monster bones. Sorry for swearing. I did mark the channel as not for children, so I don't feel too badly about it, but I try not to swear too much. There we go. Those are evenly placed. Let's see. How big can I make these bowl lamps? Not that big. Strawberry milk. Oh, for the cow, right? That's funny. I'm a fan of Linus. I haven't watched too much Bitwit. I like it when he's on LTT, and I like it when Linus goes onto Paul and Kyle's channel because he's just such a dick. He plays a villain. I don't know why. I don't know why he's not just a... He seems like a nice guy. That cow has seen some stuff. Yeah, it absolutely has. So this is going to be kind of a destroyed... This looks better this way. But it's not going to be consistent because that wouldn't make an awful lot of sense. So we're just going to place a few different versions of this around. Yeah, like his villain persona. Yeah. That's like how you put at the end of the blood trail path in Dungeon Draft. There we go. Have I used this one already? No. Okay. So these are going to be a collection of pillars that led up to an open air throne room kind of thing. And let's go ahead and start adding in chains. I oftentimes, despite having used this software quite a lot, do not remember under which setting certain things are. And one thing that I wish Dungeon Draft could do is that you could resize paths. Like, I wish I could make this path a lot bigger because I have to kind of zoom in to really see it. But I might actually just kind of like place that there. And then we'll do another one here, and I'm just kind of like placing miscellaneous bits of chain. I'm going to place up to 4 of them that will be within the sight of the chain devil, so it can use them to attack people. There we go. There we go. Oh, leave me alone. There we go. Okay. Man, I'm so glad that stuff like Dungeon Draft exists, though. Like, even just before this software came out, I could not possibly have made a map that looked any good. Let's see what this cliff face kind of looks like over here. Looks a little weird. The problem I have with Dungeon Draft is keeping the scale of object consistent throughout the map, especially when you bring in outside. Yeah, that's fair. That was actually kind of what I was getting at earlier, where let me in that path. I don't really like how that looks. Like 5 feet for the width of a chair is a lot, but it looks reasonable, so I'm just gonna kind of leave it. Some of it you have to hand wave away a little bit, but when you start getting into really technical maps where the environment plays a lot of the combat encounter, it can be difficult to get everything sized reasonably. My hope is that the carriage trail path can be doubled one day. I don't know of many one-wheeled carriages. It makes it hard to... Yeah, 100%. Especially because when you expect something to be... when you expect something to be equal widths apart and it's not, it looks real weird. How about dropping a spiked chain as loot? Let me take a look at what that is. Spiked chain. My players had a whole bunch of cool... oh, and you said Shadow Dancer, too. I meant to look at that. I'm sorry. Oh, so spiked chain might not be a specific thing. It might just be like the general idea. Oh, it's a Mordenkainen thing. I don't know Mordenkainens. What is it? Yeah, I'm just gonna... Ooh, they had something break here. Dang it. Shadow Dancer. D&D. D&D Shadow Dancer. Shadow Dancers were those who used innate ability rather than arcane magic to harness the power of shadow magic. That sounds cool. Thick chair. For the longest time, I thought the train without tracks thing was the carriage path. Yeah, that would make sense and would almost be a better use. Always existing in a place where light and darkness met. Shadow dancer. Ooh, where light and darkness met. That's a very fitting, like, thematic element for a nightmare creature. Despite the connotations between darkness and evil, many shadow dancers use their abilities for good. That's nice. Shadow dancers drew upon the power of the shadows to become a bit like a super rogue. Ooh. And that their ability to hide was very potent. As a shadow dancer became more experienced, they could command the shadows to do their bidding. But good lord, I download the whole set now. Poor DungeonDraft takes 3 minutes to load. Yeah, there needs to be some more optimizations with how custom assets get loaded. Do you have any tips for elevation differences in the terrain? I do. You might even say that I have a video about it. Encounter library. It's maybe my most poorly named video, but it does exist. Where is it? Yeah, how to show depth and scale with layers, materials, and objects in DungeonDraft. The end result that you get is effectively this, where you have a bit of land, you have some sand leading into a lake with a monster kind of crash landed in the center. This statue is not actually there. That was just attached to my mouse from the object window. These stones under the water, and then this overhanging cliff. What it basically comes to is what it basically comes down to is using the material brush, basically. Where's the material brush? There it is. It's a lot of using, is it this one? Yeah, this, and placing grass over it. That's what it comes down to an awful lot. And one other thing that I can show is, if anybody watches Critical Role, this will hopefully be funny to you. This was one of the first maps I made in DungeonDraft. So you had this base underwater level. I used one of the material brushes to put this underlying cobblestone. And then with materials, you can use the layers. So I would start with below ground, below water if I was doing anything below water, and then like shift up through the user layers, putting more materials on top of other materials. And just building on top of it and putting whatever would be relevant. Like you could make an ice one if you wanted to by putting ice over a material or something like that. Or you could just have, let me put this above the objects. What layer? There we go. It's like you could, oh, there's no transparency on the ice. That's actually kind of disappointing. I didn't know that. I was hoping it was going to be more like water, where if you place water and you put it, or if you put the object underneath the water, you could see it, but oh well. And that, how to import. Oh yeah, and I hope that didn't come off as a dick thing to say or anything like that. It is, I think, my least popular video, so I wouldn't really expect anyone to have seen it. Oh, it actually has a lot more views than it did the last time that I looked at it. Look at how young I was mere months ago. Okay. Sorry, I think the spike chain specifically is a 3E, 4E weapon, but it's pretty cool. I use it in my campaign. Shadow Dancers use a spike chain, but it's not a specific item. Really just a whip that does piercing damage. The bonus psychic damage is from their skill and training. That's badass, and my players actually temporarily had a similar weapon from a Mind Flayer. Their knife, or not their knife, their, whatchamacallit? You know, the old who's its what's its. Fire whip. That's not going to give it to me, is it? Nope. Let's see, it might be listed on here. Nope. Mind Flayer whip. Mind Lash. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And that's the thing that they use at the beginning to start breaking their minds and make them susceptible to the modify memory and to the drowning and changing of their brains and stuff. Is they were whipped at these where is it here? They were whipped at this section, and this is actually one of my players who had to leave because he moved to a different city. That's his body there. I don't think they know that, but that's a little canon for me. Campaign 2. Just started season 2. Campaign 2 on episode 16. Yeah, you still got a lot of episodes ahead of you. You might catch up, though, now that they're not streaming due to COVID. Not that that's a good thing, but it gives you more time to get caught up at least. Waits for your players to investigate the chair. Players have lots of whatchamacallits. Yeah. Yeah, I'm normally better about remembering the names, but I'm strangely nervous right now. I'm used to just talking to a camera that doesn't ever talk back and can't judge me when I delete 40 takes and try again. It may not seem like I try to make the videos short or to make them more comprehensible, but I spent at least an hour and a half recording takes for that Forge video. And it turned out to be a 13-minute long video. It's a lot easier when you write them, folks. I recommend doing that. So this is going to be the chain that he's going to use. And what else would be good stuff to have around here? Oops, that was the wrong button. Streaming feels weird. Totally agree. Yep. I've only streamed once before. My then girlfriend, now wife, loves Stardew Valley, as we all should. And she really wanted me to play, and I really wanted to mess around with streaming, and so we kind of did both. We did a stream on my personal Twitch channel called My Girlfriend Teaches Me How to Play Stardew Valley, and it actually went okay. We got like 4 or 5 viewers. We only did it 3 or 4 times, just because it's a lot of effort and it's a lot of talking. My mouth gets dry and I'm not very interesting, and oh god, the anxiety thoughts are coming out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm probably 10 episodes behind on campaign 2. Haven't listened to campaign 1. Yeah, I hadn't played Dungeons and Dragons in a few years, and I found Critical Role when I was like just jonesing for some Dungeons and Dragons. I watched all of campaign 2 and all of campaign 1, and I think 2 or 3 months, I think I was watching or had on at least 16 hours of it a day, because I work from home, so I would just have it going in the background when I was doing boring stuff, and man, I just tore through it. I watched so much, and then my wife started watching with me too, and she played in high school, but we could never just play just the two of us, or I guess we could have, but that's not so great. Or I shouldn't say that. It's not that it's not great. It's better if you're more comfortable with strong collaborative storytelling. And I get kind of anxious about that kind of thing. So D&D is a little bit of a struggle for me, but it's also an outlet because it has rules and structure. And you know, if everybody's there, that they're all into at least the same thing a little bit. And so it alleviates that a lot. So I've gotten better about like trying to be like, hey guys, this is what I think would be a cool adventure. I'm not quite as anxious about it. I'm gonna put some little skulls here. Not that big. That'd be huge. Just put some skulls here, and I'll probably, if he gets a high perception check, say that they're the skulls of someone he cared about or something like that. Is this leading into Tharizdun or just something cool with chains? Just something cool with chains. Just some cool chain devil stuff. I listen to it at work. Yeah. It's great to listen to at work. It feels like you're hanging out with friends instead of working. I like that aspect of it quite a lot. Let's see. What would be some other cool stuff to have around here? graves. That's not a bad idea. Some horrifying monsters. And you know what? I might put some of these in here, not as actual traps, but to say, like, this is what you see these things like sticking out of walls and stuff, and they were things that happened in the fight before the Chain Devil took over this place or something like that. So I might just say there's these like giant blades shoved in. I wish there was some like debris, or not debris, but like earth destruction, like craters. Actually, I guess there are some craters, or there's holes at least, but it doesn't look quite right. Add some ground textures, maybe sandstone. I think this actually is the sandstone texture, but adding some other textures to it would actually be a good idea. I actually like the cracked earth one a lot, so I might just... Oh, I'm still on sandstone. Gotta change. Just kind of like pop some of this in here just to give a little texture to other parts of the map so it's not so boring. It's crazy what just adding like a little bit of additional texture can do for a map, just to make it less samey feeling. Let's see, what does sand look like if we pop some of that in? Actually, it doesn't look bad, but I'm not sure where I would put it. I guess it could theoretically be like the path leading up to this. But I don't know why he'd want to have a sand path. I guess it could just be because it gets walked frequently. It doesn't look bad. What do you guys think? Cactus. Circle stairs. I'll just add a bunch of circle stairs. Toss in a burnt teddy bear just to mess with the players. That's funny. I think there is a teddy bear object. I guess I could put some of these scary things. It wouldn't really make sense for there to still be blood. Maybe a portal to hell behind him. And this is a colorable item, and that's why that a green is coming in, actually. I can come in, I can add a custom color, and we'll do like a red kind of thing. But if I put that there, they're going to try to go through it. So I don't know if I want to deal with that. An anchor. It only makes sense to have an anchor there. I actually really like misusing sails. Yeah, I might put that there and give it... Actually, do I want to just use this kind? Because that looks kind of cool. Cracked earth looks good, or looks great. Sand, iffy. Yeah, I think that's fair. Let's get rid of the sand. I really like the way that these look, but I've never been able to find quite the... There's a key for mirroring. A is what it is, it looks like. There. Might place that as kind of a... crap. Yeah, there we go. Skeletons. Yeah, skeletons could be good. There's totems. Huh. Totems might not be bad. Have some totem, like some broken totems off to the side that are replaced with his totems, which are these giant skulls. That doesn't really make sense to have that there. So let's pull it out a little bit, and then you get a little bit more texture from that. This will be kind of just like a tent thing hanging over it. Let's see. I'm going to go back to the skeletons in a second, because I think I've already passed those. I wish there were some dead horse. That's a horrible thing to say. But I wish there were some dead horse tokens. Just because his people care so much about horses. Yeah, I mean, I guess he could be like hedonism bot and just have like fruit and people feeding him his grapes all the time, but he doesn't seem like a real grape eating guy. I want to move the north sail up a bit so the anchor isn't on the skull. Yep, we are on the same page. And actually, I think you're still right. I think it could still use a little bit more distance. So the other one is that far away. There. So now they're symmetrical. We need fire. We need fire. Huh. All right. You people are getting crazy. This doesn't seem like a place that's going to have a lot of greenery. Oh, these are some 2-minute tabletop assets that I pulled in that I thought were going to be like the individual objects, but turned out to be like the entire buildings, which is actually not bad depending on what you're trying to do. It could help you make a city incredibly quickly. But you know, like some thorns and stuff like that isn't really a bad idea. Add the sand as a level with some opacity. Huh. Put a whole like sand level over it. That could be interesting. Actually, you might be right. There might be a horse skeleton. I think is there a skeleton tag? I think there is. Yeah, skeleton. Yeah, there is a skeleton horse. Awesome. You're a mad genius. We'll have some of those over here. And you can press the A key to mirror these if you're ever... I wish I could move the head around a little bit. That's kind of a dead giveaway that it's the same token, but whatever. With that, we'll have some other tokens. I'll just make the human bone way bigger than the dinosaur. Or not the dinosaur, the horse. So put that there. Kind of just... And actually, this is a good opportunity to show the scatter tool, which is useful. Yeah, I agree. There are definitely some weaknesses with how materials and terrain work. I wish that... because WonderDraft has that function where you can make like chaotic coast by having it be very ridged. And I think that it would be cool if you could do the same thing with terrain. And it seems like the intensity slider does not do what I would expect it to do. It seems like it just takes longer. Because like what I expect the intensity slider to do is I reduce it and it fills in slower. But what it seems to do now is it takes a long time and then it instantly fills in. And that's not really what I'm not looking to just add a delay to adding terrain. I'm looking to slow terrain. I do like that sometimes when you're like placing sand over dried earth or something, it will fill in the cracks first. More stuff like that would be awesome. But we'll see. So this is the scatter tool. So this lets you select multiple different types of objects, and so I'm going to control click a couple of these skeleton options, and this is not how I'm actually going to use it. And then you can set like a variable scale, and so that way your tokens won't all be the exact same size as each other, or they will be if that's what you want. You can set the amount of rotation, how many squares there should be when you're placing them. So basically this would just do this. Like you can place random selections of all of the tokens that you selected, which is cool. Or you can even just like click, place. Oh, I guess at 5 feet a square, that makes these people 15 feet or something. But you know what? It is what it is. There we go. Just put a few more big old skeleton boys around. Classic. I wish material strength, how to do hills. Yeah, better blending would absolutely be good. How to do hills. That is a hard one. I haven't messed with hills too much. It's easier to do cliffs than it is to do hills or to do like outcroppings. What would be the best way to do that? Let's come over here and grab some grass and just like put... Oh, dang it. I'm still on sand because I'm incompetent. So if we just put some grass here, how would we want to show that there was in fact a hill there? Let's change to moss and see if using a different texture might give us... Oh, I'm still on grass. Dagnabbit. So that kinda doesn't really work at all, actually. But you... no, that's not really a good solution. My guess is that you're going to need some kind of custom asset to fill in that to provide some kind of shading or something. Yeah, path asset that was a shadow could work. Actually, let's see what assets there are currently. Can I Control Z to get rid of these? Ooh, for some reason that like left a weird color on my eyes and the cracked earth started looking like tan. Let's see what paths we've got access to. Are there any interesting patterns? No, not really. Path tool. There it is. Oh, this one actually is a shadow tool. Might be able to do a little something with that. Yeah, so let's make this nice wide area. Come back to the path tool. So maybe not this shadow tool, but maybe you could have another one that was like it. And you know, doing that in conjunction with the dry moss or something to kind of like fill it out. Or maybe not dry moss, maybe, or dry grass, maybe moss instead. Yeah, that kind of works a little. Spider webs in a custom color can look a bit like typo. Yeah, I could see that. I think there was another question too. How would you make a row of pillars inside a temple room? I would probably do that with objects and maybe it's under military. That has pillars? No. Maybe dungeon is where it is. Yeah, so there's these pillar assets that you can use. And so you could do that either in the scatter tool and have them just automatically place one by one by one. Depending on how many you're doing, that could be useful. But it's probably not... it's probably best to just take one of these and place it manually. And you can turn these shadows off if you don't like them. We can just click shadow off and then you get just the drawing. And you can place those wherever. And then you can pick which one of these you like. They've got top-down posts, but they just look like circles sometimes. Yeah, a lot of the lighting kind of gets a similar feel. Ooh, I wonder if a tar pit would be useful here. Wouldn't fully make sense for there to be a tar pit, but tar pits are gross. They're making future oil. Yeah, a lot of these do just look like circles. One of those things where it might aid a description, but you're going to still need to describe it to really sell what's going on in the room. I'm just happy there's ladders and stuff now. There was a lot of stuff in the initial release, but there's a lot of stuff wasn't there too. Maybe I'll give him a big spider monster or something. I love putting these blood splatters all over the place, but it's been too long for there to still be blood splatters. Sorry, just had to mark some notifications on my phone. They're starting to pile up. So you know what? This is not a bad map for how long I delayed actually putting it together. And that's one of the things that I love about Dungeon Draft is like you place a handful of things and suddenly it is realistic looking. This might be too big of a map, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. How many squares across is this? Here's a life hack for everybody. If you want to measure out quickly how big your map is, you can turn snapping back on by pressing S, and you can turn snapping off so you can place things wherever you want if you want. I would normally leave it on, and you can then drag the full width and height. So it's 35 wide, 25 tall, so that's 50, 150. It's like 175 feet total. You can move the entire distance in a couple of turns. If the whole fight takes place in this center area, how much is that? That's a much more reasonable combat zone, and that's probably what's going to wind up happening is everybody's going to wind up right here in the center. Black blood splatters for old blood. That's a good point. It's so like dusty and sandy here. That might have gotten rid of it, but still looks cool. Let's God, I can never remember where anything is, which makes me, I feel, look like I don't know what I'm talking about. And actually these lava rocks for blood stains work well too. Not for really old blood stains, but so this is kind of what you need for a hill. You need an asset like this where it's colorable, where you can make it black or something. And you know what? I wonder if I just place some grass here, fill this in real quick. Then just rotate this around. There's a really rough looking hill for you. But you know what? Like the concept is functional. If you did something like this, that could work if you made a custom asset for it. One of these other flotsam might, no, that's not going to work. It's not nearly big enough. Not nearly big enough. Not nearly big enough. Oh, that could work. You'd be like, these lines represent where the hill goes up. If you do a little other stuff around it to try to fill it in, you could maybe get that going. And make it grid larger when you import into Foundry. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I need to start exporting my maps without grids, because generally speaking, I don't like the grid in Foundry, or not Foundry, in Dungeon Draft either. It's like, it's very big. Which can be helpful sometimes, but not most of the time. Like a mound, yeah. Yeah, all in all, for like, there's a lot of stuff that you can jank together in Dungeon Draft to make it work. Oh, there's a kitty cat. It even looks like my cat. That's nice. So what was I doing? Blood, right. Looking for blood. There's going to be a lot of things that could be taken out of context in these videos. So black is probably not what we were thinking, right? We know we just need a darker red. Really dark red. Yeah, that kind of works. Yeah, it works for me. Shouldn't be that gigantic, obviously. But it's just something to stain the ground around it. Just place some of these. Where's one where we've got a horse and a person? Oh, this one. So I'll put some more blood here. Put some little splatters. We'll say they also had like a giant with them or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's all a nightmare, so none of it really has to make that much sense. Ooh. A gigantic pool of blood. We'll do some of that. A stray cat just hangs out around the chain demon. Cats are definitely a little demonic, and I say that as someone who prefers cats greatly to dogs. Let's, I forgot to get rid of all this earth. So let's just kind of like fix some of that up. Get that back. Yeah, there we go. Remove the grass. Yep. Crimson already saw what I screwed up. But I liked it a little bit better before, but whatever. I'll see if I can get kind of back to the glory that was the previous map. Yeah, that'll work. That's fine enough. Okay. Okay. Play some spooky desert music. This could all work. Are there any materials that I want to add in here? Do I want to throw lava at them? What does this look like? No. Or I guess, I wonder if I could put this... Pool of blood in the middle. Yeah, that could be crazy. What do we think about this material brush being here? I'm not thrilled by it. But I wanted to just add a little bit of something else. Lava. We'll just have the wood coming out of lava. Looks great, man. You yanking my chain devil, Crimson. No, I'm just kidding. Wonder what it would just look like to have a huge thing. Nah, I don't like that. And lava's so dangerous. I hesitate to put stuff in front of my players that could kill them in a single hit. Ooh, this is still showing that I've used lava, but I haven't. I wonder if that's because I got rid of it with Control Z instead of using Alt. Yeah, I think that's what it is. If you get rid of it with Control Z, it still thinks that it's there. Wonder if I change to a different... Okay, so it does pick it up eventually that I got rid of it. Would a cave work better? It's darker. That's a good point. It might. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's up here. Oh, and you can finally open up. Dadgummit. Get rid of all that. There's a lot of like performance improvements with this right now where yeah, that might be better, like especially if this gets blasted open so that there's more of a trail going down. Oh, it was before the added rock. Gotcha. 100%. I gotta turn low latency mode on next time I do this because the lag is insufferable. What do we think with a cave? It's better than it was because I like that I can blow the entrance open, but I don't know that... I guess I could make the color more match with this stone. Here. I'm gonna open Affinity Photo. I'm gonna find out what color this sandstone is. Let's grab that color. I hate that Affinity Photo does that. It just like applies a color sample. I just want to get the color sample. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing to me? Ground color, that. Oh, nope, that was just there. Wrong one. That's what I was looking more for. Okay, that works a little bit better. Let me find a darker color for the stone, too. I'll pull the crack from the terrain. There we go. All right, all right, all right. Let's see how this looks. It might be a little too dark. I can, but I don't. I guess I don't fully know how that works. I don't think I. Or does it work that way? Oh, I don't think I knew that. Huh. Would you look at that? And they say you can't learn anything from a pomegranate. That's crazy. There we go. With a lighter color, that's better. And I like just having something else over there. But now that wood is pretty similar. Oh, well. What in the world? Why does it show it's been blasted over there? That's weird. Is there anything else needed here? So these 4 chains will probably go these 4 chains will probably grab the other players. Will have a temporary 1v1 of Almac versus the Chain Devil. They'll break their chains within a round or 2, but that'll give the Chain Devil a good amount of time to get a couple whacks in. And he'll just say horrible, horrible things to Almac about his backstory, about how weak he is, about how he never defeated him, about how he escaped instead, and he left everyone behind, and he'll just be surrounded by the dead of his family and stuff. Stairs. Sergio, stop telling me to put stairs. Okay, everybody, let's see if stairs make the map better. The biggest stair asset in the game. There. Is it better? Did the stairs improve it? Oh, you were actually making a legitimate recommendation. I'm sorry. That was a dick move. I thought, because somebody had talked about stairs before and kept telling me to put circular stairs, which would have looked ridiculous. But some actual... I wish some of these stairs were colorable. That would actually be very useful. I might be able to... Ugh. Probably have to be stone. Which one of these are short stone? Yeah, I see that now, Pomegranate. I feel like a big dick now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sergio. You had a good recommendation. I just misunderstood. Actually, yeah. Dennis likes it with the giant. Yeah, if this was colorable, this would be way better. I might just pull it into Affinity and like color correct it afterwards. Because it is nice to have some stairs. Yeah, so it appears next to it, but it that's just because it appears on all objects. Only some of them are colorable, but the custom color option won't ever go away. I've actually made a recommendation that it should as a user experience improvement. But only objects with a certain level of red colorability will actually take on the custom color, like the Huzuma what's-its? The sails. Some of these things blood, the vegetables. Oh, one of the other cool things about the scatter tool is that you can use I'm sorry, Sergio. Or Sergio, I'm sorry. My bad. Should you have a tent? A huge tent off to the side? No, probably not. There are the 3 wooden steps that might work. Yeah, that might work a little bit better. But he has a stone throne. I wonder if just moving the throne closer to the... or moving the steps closer to the throne would... Nah, that's not really an improvement. I guess I could move this wall back farther. And make this a little bigger. Because you can also resize things in DungeonDraft, which is nice. Not really a fan of that so much. Let's try it with the wooden stairs. Let's just delete this. I don't have to keep hitting Control Z. Why won't you let me delete? There we go. DungeonDraft is still in beta. Object tool. Is there a... probably under tavern I could find stairs? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I could probably more easily describe those as being sandblasted steps to the top of a throne. Sergio wants fire. Well, that works. I think there's a few rectangle objects that you can turn into stairs if overlapped, but it's not the best option. Yeah, that's true, as I might be able to find a colorable object. Like this. If I can make it really big. That's the other thing, is the object has to be able to get big enough to be usable. I could use something like a wooden board or something, but that's not that different from the stairs. So do you guys think it looks better with the stone right next to the throne room, or is it better to have like the wooden stairs leading up? I think that this looks nice as like a lead up for the stairs, but you know what, it's hard to say. Oh, I'm still in the tavern only assets. Let's go back to all assets. Let's see what big colorable objects we have. Cloth. Okay, this could maybe work if I stacked a bunch of these up. Yeah, and actually you mentioning that it can crash a lot, I'm going to go ahead and save this Chain Devil Nightmare. There we go. Yeah, rugs would be... Up higher has ones without the landing at the top. I think there's a few rectangle objects that you... Yeah, let's try with this rug, but let's change the color to match. I think the object is getting in the way or something of actually being able to color select. Maybe I'm wrong. Color select. There we go. Now it looks like it's changing more. So let's grab that color. Make this nice and big. We'll get rid of the stairs. Go back to Object Tool. Set this to be over. So that matches more color-wise. Maybe it'd be better if I turn shadows on. Shadows kind of work. Yeah, that sounds about right. Color picker's buggy when you have an object in your hand. Yeah, my solution was just to make it microscopic. And yeah, DungeonDraft definitely can crash a lot, and some people seem to have really bad luck with it. There's got to be like some kind of common configuration between some of the bugs, because I've had decent luck, knock on wood, with DungeonDraft, but but I definitely have had a not insignificant number of crashes. I might be somewhat desensitized to what a normal level of crash is from working on software myself and breaking a bunch of things. Ooh, I wonder if this would... That might work for a hill as well. I'm still obsessed with the hill thing, trying to find out a good solution for it. Ooh! Altar, that kind of looks like steps, doesn't it? Kinda. Maybe unsnap and rotate them just so it looks weathered and less tidy. Yeah, that could work. Ah. Dang it. Lease, I say. Yeah, I think that's making a positive difference, having the stairs be kind of like mangled. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. That was a very good recommendation. That looks a little too repetitive. Maybe I'll just make this one like shorter looking. There we go. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. It's like kind of carved out of clay at that point, more so. I probably should have put it above, put all these objects above the wall too. I think you can change that now, actually, as a group. Let's put it above walls. Ooh, maybe not. Maybe that doesn't look better. Might just be because shadows are on. Nah. I'll put it back below the walls. That makes more sense. Okay. One. Oh man. When the math rock gives you a 1, that's a big bummer. So I think this actually came together pretty good. Pretty well. I'm sorry, that's incorrect grammar. Let's see, is there anything... We'll just make it... Ballroom 2.0. I had a map recently where the players had to dance with a bunch of undead. In a ballroom of an undead lord. I really like this tile, not obviously in this situation, that looks weird, but sometimes I just like to drag stuff out and see what it makes me think about. Nah, don't like that either. How about some carpet? Just put a great big old carpet in here. Oh, you know what? What could give this a lot of texture is changing the environment light, so it's not just a big bright light. It would probably be more yellowish in the desert, like a sickly dark yellow. Yeah. That brings out a lot of the texture. And blast out a lot of the walls. Yeah, that could work if you made it green. That could definitely work. Green cave, get rid of all the walls. Though I think there's actually a material or a floor that's like that you could also color. So that might be an easier way, because caves are kind of glitchy. They might be better now. I haven't read all of the changelogs recently, and I clearly am not even on the latest version. I should find out what's in the latest version. I didn't know that there was a new one. I'm normally pretty tuned into that kind of thing. Um, yeah, let's get a like nice dark color in here. I don't want it to look like it's night. Maybe more like late afternoon. Yeah, there we go. That's more in line. Now, do I want to add some lights? I really like this textured one. Something about that's really appealing to me. There probably should be some fire in here. I'm going to finally do what Sergio wants and put a fire. Now, what kind of fire are we going to... Ooh, or we could use like... No, that doesn't really make sense. Maybe big cauldrons, just with red, just filled with blood that are emanating light. There's not really precedent for that, but not everything needs precedent. Oh, or maybe I'll just put like some big flames coming out of these things and just constantly illuminating the area. That's kind of dumb. No, it just doesn't look very much like flame. That's probably more of the issue. Fire assets are really hard to do. Fire. Huge fire behind the throne. Yeah, a huge fire behind the throne could be pretty cool. And then I don't actually have to find a way to describe it. Torches at the base of the stairs, a couple of braziers, yeah. Making the dream more hellish. Yeah, and if the fire is gigantic and it's behind the throne, I don't actually have to depict it. I can just show the results of it. I could just have a huge... This just... Ah, the cave walls. They're screwing me. Yeah, I'll just put it in front and behind. Ooh. What do you guys think about that? I actually kind of am a fan of that. I don't know, it might be a little too much. It's hard to say. Guess I could have used a different one, but I like that like multi-textured part of it, of that light. I don't know why. But it's very appealing to me. And yeah, there's definitely some need for some other burning things. So let's check out some of those. Is there a light? How is there not a light tag? Or I get, oh, lighting. Duh. The lights all look a little cartoony, which is kind of a bummer. But probably the lantern is the best one, and just like make it gigantic. All right, y'all like that. He likes it. He likes it. Minor Matrix reference there for everybody. Try using water. Pool of blood underneath the cave, maybe? With yellow color or orange or red. Okay. You were right about the fire, Sergio. I'll give you that. Let's see if you're right about blood water too, but let me put some different light inside of this. That won't be quite as hellish as the other light. Or maybe it'll be even more. Let's see, what is red? That might be too much. Let's stick with this yellowy. Which type of light do I... I just love the texture on this so much. So we'll do this. Yes, so that was also a good idea, Crimson. I like having big braziers. And then I could like have flames licking up the chains or something like that. Let's see. I think there was also... I wonder what one of these... Nah, that... the campfire stuff is so cartoony. It's very, very upsetting. You know what might work? I believe there's just like some log assets, which also don't look great. But if I took these and kind of stacked them this way, it looks more like a bonfire. Though some of these it shouldn't all be. Oh, these are all placed above walls. I shouldn't have done that. Let's put that back on user layer 1. And then I'm going to kind of just selectively move some of these on top of each other so it's not, they're not just all piled on top of each other. User layer 2. No, we'll get that one back down there. Yeah, so that looks a little bit better. The lighting adds so much. Good call. Yeah, it's group effort. I love the lighting. The lighting makes such a big difference once you get it going. Let's see what having another one of these over here looks like. And they'll just be burning. So let's go back to bright. Can I place this on? Huh. Let's see. Is there... Go back to lighting. I wish there was just a fire effect that I could put on. I guess this bowl lamp kind of works that way. As just flame. Let's put that there for each and then try to hide it by just blasting the intensity of the light. Yeah. Huh. That's really intense. Really intense. Let's get back to more normal levels. I liked it for a second. Hey Mark, thanks for watching. I appreciate that a lot. I hope that it is useful. Maybe it's fine if it's intense, but it should be more of a yellow. That looks a little better. Maybe it would look better with one of these more normal. Yeah, that's a little bit more fiery. Whereas this is like brazier light. I can have it differentiated a little bit that way. Yeah, so I might go with that. There. Just so that there's a little bit of light in almost all of the sections. Though maybe that's a little too much. I don't know, maybe it shouldn't be as well lit at the entrance. Make a small, high-intensity one just over the wood pile. Oh, that's a good point. I could double it up. That's a really good point. So I'll make that one nice and small, but have its intensity be higher. You could even like do multiple, just stack them up, make that look real hot. Yeah, I think that the yellow is definitely nicer and does show a little bit more variation compared to the Hellfire, which is good. But then changing it to this different style makes it a little oranger. So I might take this and make it a little more yellow. A little more on the yellow side. Let me get this back on the right. Now let's get that down a little bit. How did he get the dirt breakup? Drew, that's using the a different terrain. There's terrain sandstone, which was the base, and then I used terrain cracked earth over the top of it. Too much of a good thing, I think. I could see that. Yeah. Yeah. I think the yellow is better, but I am worried that it takes away from how serious this is. And that's the more important element, probably, is making sure that that looks crazy. Okay. Okay. So we'll get rid of all that. Besides, what does a Chain Devil care what it looks like 100 feet ahead of him? He can't even be impacted by magical darkness, so no real reason for him to care other than the intimidation factor of having so much fire. All right. Meanly. It's definitely more stable than it was 6 weeks ago. I haven't crashed once during this whole build, and actually during most of my recent builds, except when I was screwing around with custom assets and I was like trying to break things, then I had a lot of crashes. And using some custom assets and then disabling them or getting rid of them and trying to reopen the map could lead to crashes, but I think the update I'm currently on fixed that, so I'm not sure what's in this 0.9.2.1 update, but that might be better. But yeah, it's been a lot better. So if you haven't used it since early release, it's a lot better. Is this for homebrew campaign or is it one of the official ones? I wish that somebody cared about what I wrote enough to make it an official campaign. This is just for my homebrew campaign. I will share this map for free if anybody wants it. And I can upload the DungeonDraft file and the actual exported image if anybody wants it. But I think that might be it for this map, and it might be it for the stream. It's 12:30. I actually started streaming at like 8:30 or 9, but I screwed up how to do it so many different times that it didn't really start until like 2.5 hours ago. Are all the assets you're using on this map default? Yeah. No custom assets in this map. I think I have a couple active. So I only have 2-minute tabletop active right now. And I can show you those, but I'm not using any of them. They should be down here at the bottom. Yeah, so that's just these 4 down here. It was a building asset. Oh, I see what you're saying. If it's a custom map for an existing thing. Yeah, this would be a very, very sensible map for Descent into Avernus. It's very deserty, very like Mad Max, very Hellfire, demony, and stuff like that. I'm actually I don't own Descent into Avernus, but that Mordenkainen and a couple of the other books are on my like pick up this month list, just because there's so much cool lore and so many cool monsters in them and stuff, and I'm really excited for some of this like demon monster stuff. I think it'd be really cool, and there's a lot of dark nightmarish deals with devils, and that'd be cool to have in your back pocket if you wanted it. Great job of it. Oh, thank you so much, Drew. And Drew, are you... Let me check something before I say this, because I don't want to dox anybody. No, you're probably a different Drew than that Drew. Never mind. Looks good though. Hope the players don't die, or do. It's just a dream. Or is it? The body cannot live without the mind, Neo. So there's definitely real danger in these, especially for nightmarish creatures like demons that could be doing a variety of things. Oh, and happy to answer it. And that kind of sucks that it's a little boring at the beginning, but those hell vehicles, all that stuff, I'm glad that it picks up at least. I love the cover. I think the cover... Oh, you are Patreon Drew. Oh, thank you very much, Drew. That was very kind of you, by the way. Um, and I did see your last message, and I think you should be good on the the Game Master version of uh of Forge, and you can definitely upgrade later on if you want to. Um, and let me know how it is because I've run a couple games on it as a test and early on before I had gotten my server set up. So let me know how it works and if you have any issues or anything because I don't want to be recommending something to everybody that sucks. But it worked pretty well in my experience, and I know that Kakarot is working on it a lot. I've talked to him a little bit about it, and I'm in his not his subreddit, his Discord and everything. And he's very, very attentive, especially to any issues that people are having with Forge. Nice. I'm glad that it's working. But then I have community posts set up on YouTube. I just got access to those. That was one of the big reasons I was excited to get to 1,000 subscribers is because I can post community posts, which can be like video, like tiny videos, polls, text, or anything like that. Actually, you know what? I'll just do it right now. I'm gonna export this PNG. We'll do grid off in case anybody wants to do something different. Oh man, look at the difference between light off and light on. That's crazy. It looks so bad without lights on. Or it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look nearly as good. That's crazy. Light is, because I do a lot of photography, light is always the big difference. You never think it's going to be as impactful as it is, though. Good luck with your session later tonight. Thank you, Wired. I appreciate that a lot. Beyond importing is easier now, too, since it's all in the browser. Yeah, not having to run the application and everything is nice, and being able to be, like, on your laptop and be like, oh, I want to make a change to this, but I'm not on my desktop, so I can't do it. Now you can. I like that a lot. Bought the collector's edition because it was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, the beginning feels a bit shoehorned, but with a bit of work, a team can flesh it out better. Yeah, the collector's edition especially looks so sick. So sick. There's this focus option in here, which I'm guessing is more useful for doing multi-level things. Like if you want to export one of the levels with a blurry sub-level, if you're doing like an upper level type thing. It's nowhere near dynamic without the lighting. Yeah, 1,000%. The lighting is everything, and I love it. So let's go ahead. I'll do a Roll20 size export because I like to do that because it just keeps file sizes down, and I think 70 is a pretty reasonable amount. I think Foundry doesn't prefer, but its default is 100. But I don't need those wasted pixels. Yeah, so I'm going to export this. Chain Devil Dream or Nightmare. Really? Save. So I've got that exported. I'm going to open something in another tab just so you guys don't see me logging in. I do not mean to exclude anyone with guys and gals, I should say. There we go. Downloads, Chain Devil Nightmare, and then let me just grab the actual DungeonDraft file. Sorry, this part is on my NAS, so I really don't want to show that because it has my IP address in it. There we go, Chain Devil Nightmare. Sorry, this file type is not permitted for security reasons. Ugh. Great. Let me see if I have this in my FTP information. I don't. Huh. great. Oh, that is so annoying. Well, in that case, I won't be able to share the Dungeon Draft file. I'll include it in the description of the next video or something. Or you can feel free to message me on Discord if you want it. If nobody wants it, that's no problem either. But here's a link to the gridless map. It's at 70 PPI for import into Foundry. I'll try to post the actual file later in case anybody wants to go in and edit themselves or just see how it's put together or anything like that. And with that, I can always do a Google Drive for stuff you want to share and just do a link. I could do that. I don't think there's anything bad that people can do with just a Drive link, is there? No, that's probably fine. And I guess that's my Encounter Library email address anyway, so people already send me emails at that. Don't know. Actually, now I know where they got it, but I don't know where they got it before. Get shareable link, share settings, more options on anyone with the link. With the link, yeah, can view. That should be all that's necessary. There's a link to the actual file. And no thank you, Dennis. You're breathtaking. I have my at encounterlibrary.com address, which people already know about, so I'm not super concerned about that one getting out. And I already accidentally leaked my personal email address in a video. Thankfully, I was able to blur it out in YouTube and nobody sent me emails to it, except for the person who found it first and said, hey, you should delete this, which was also appreciated. So thank you to that person. I can't remember what their name was. And I think it was just a username anyway. But thanks everybody for showing up. It was a lot of fun making the map and talking about Foundry and just talking about D&D and working on campaign stuff. I'll probably do it again. This is my first time kind of giving this a try. And it went a lot better than expected. It looks like we had like on average like 30 people in here. That's crazy. That's about as many people as I expected to watch any of my videos at any point. So that's kind of mind-blowing. But I hope you guys and gals all have a good night. Thank you so much for watching. And here's what I end every video with. I'll see you in the next one. I don't actually know how to end this stream right away, so it's going to be an awkward cut. But it was a lot of fun hanging out with everybody. I hope you all have a good night. And I'll see you in the next one.